Imagine for a second that you are a soldier, marching toward a battle that you know, like, with absolute certainty you're not going to survive.
Right, a complete suicide mission.
Exactly. And you're standing in formation in this freezing pre-dawn air. Your king walks down the line to inspect the troops.
Yeah.
And instead of giving you a rousing speech or, I don't know, handing out extra armor, he actively strips away your supply of basic, warm clothing for the coming winter.
Wow.
Right. Why would a leader intentionally make his doomed men colder? Like, what kind of psychology is at play when a commander decides to eliminate the most basic comforts of his own army?
Well, it's a really profound psychological maneuver, actually. I mean,
Yeah.
it's forcing a group of people to completely sever their ties to a future that, frankly, isn't going to happen.
Yeah, and that extreme, almost shocking level of commitment is exactly what we are dissecting today. So welcome to this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
Today, for you listening, we are exploring a really brilliant curation of historical anecdotes, psychology, and philosophy. It's titled Day 99, Declining the Cloak.
It's a fantastic collection.
It really is. And our mission for you on this journey is to extract the ultimate blueprint for true, unwavering commitment. We want to figure out how ancient Spartan warriors, modern behavioral psychology, and, just the most mundane daily habits all point to one single life-changing shift in mindset.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because that image of the soldiers is incredibly vivid, but we really need to understand the actual historical context behind it.
We do. And to frame this entire discussion, we really have to look at the central concept anchoring these ideas, the crossing of the threshold.
The threshold, right.
Right? This is about what it actually takes to leave the ordinary world behind, stop hedging your bets, and step into the extraordinary world.
Because you can't be in both at the same time.
Exactly. The threshold marks the exact psychological moment when a person stops being available for retreat. The opening scene you mentioned beautifully illustrates this.
The Spartan story.
Yeah, it comes from Stephen Pressfield's historical novel, Gates of Fire. It details King Leonidas and the 300 Spartans marching toward the legendary Battle of Thermopylae.
Right, and the detail that honestly gave me chills revolves around this concept of the cloak.
Yes, the winter cloaks.
So according to the historical notes we have, on the morning they marched out, the entire Spartan army was lined up on the plain. The 300 chosen warriors stood there, garlanded, their spears at the carry.
And it happened to be the month of Carneus.
Carneus, yeah. And for the Spartan military, this was the specific time of year when the army was officially issued their new cloaks. Like, it was just standard operating procedure.
A standard provision that carries a very heavy assumption, though.
What do you mean?
Well, the assumption of tomorrow. I mean, a winter cloak implies that you are actually going to be around to experience winter.
Oh, wow. Yeah, of course.
Right.
But Leonidas ordered that the issue of these new cloaks be officially discontinued for his 300 men. He deemed it and this is a quote, an improvident use of resources for men who simply would not live long enough to ever need them.
Incredible.
The 300 Spartans literally declined their cloaks.
And, the psychology behind declining that cloak is what makes this so incredibly powerful. These men are marching toward their deaths, and they are deliberately stripped of even the tiny basic comfort of a new garment.
Yeah, it's harsh.
It is. But within that stripping away, there is this profound, irreversible freedom. Think about what a cloak represents in this context.
Comfort.
Comfort, yes, but it represents the ordinary world. It represents maintenance, continuity, drafting contingency plans, paying your bills, thinking about next week.
Oh, I see.
When Leonidas takes that away, the deliberation completely ends. They're essentially saying, I am no longer planning for a life I will not have.
There is no backup plan.
None. There's only the march.
Okay, right. I need to stop you there.
Sure.
Because while this sounds incredibly poetic and, badass for a Spartan warrior who is marching into ancient history, what does this actually mean for us?
That's the real question.
Right, because you, me, the listener, we aren't Spartans.
Telling someone today to just refuse a backup plan honestly sounds a bit reckless. It can sound that way, yes.
I mean, if someone has a mortgage or a family relying on them, throwing away their safety net sounds like professional or financial self-sabotage.
Right, totally.
David J. Schwartz, who is quoted later in these notes, he talks about how confidence is a posture you adopt before having the evidence.
Yes, the posture of confidence.
Is Schwartz really advocating for us to just be reckless and blindly jump into ruin?
No, not at all. And that is the perfect distinction to make, because there is a massive difference between reckless action and the posture of confidence.
Okay, lay that out for me.
Well, we usually think of confidence as like a mathematical conclusion drawn from evidence. I have succeeded 10 times, therefore I am confident I will succeed an 11th time.
Sure, that's how most people view it.
But Schwartz points out that true confidence doesn't require guaranteed odds at all. It's a posture. A big thinker visualizes what can be done, not just what currently exists.
So they aren't ignoring reality.
Exactly. The confident person isn't lying to themselves about the odds of success. They know they might fail, but they are refusing to let those odds determine their bearing.
So for us, declining the cloak isn't necessarily quitting your job with zero savings.
Right.
It's the internal decision that you are no longer going to let the fear of failure dictate your daily actions. You act as if you've already crossed the threshold.
Precisely. You give yourself completely to the pursuit. So the takeaway for you, listening to this, is that confidence isn't about knowing you will win. It is the posture of refusing to look back.
You decline the psychological cloak.
Yes. You drop your constant backup plans, and that posture itself becomes your primary form of power.
But here is the danger of that Spartan mindset, I think.
Okay, what's that?
If you internally decide you are crossing the threshold and you adopt this unwavering posture, how do you project that without just looking like an arrogant tyrant to the rest of the world?
That's a great point.
I mean, how does the outside world react to someone who has stopped hedging their bets?
Well, this is where we have to look at the external projection of that internal bearing. The notes actually bring in Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power here.
Oh, right. Specifically Law 5, I believe.
Yes, Law 5, which deals entirely with reputation. Greene argues that reputation is a magic wand that can literally double your strength.
Double your strength just based on what people think of you.
Exactly. The exact same action can appear brilliant or dreadful depending entirely on the reputation of the person executing it.
Mm.
It operates like leverage on the world.
How does that connect to crossing the threshold, though?
Because reputation is essentially confidence made visible over time. It is how the world processes your threshold crossing.
Ah, I see.
And one of the most vital points Greene makes is about how you handle attacks.
When people criticize you.
Right. The person who has truly crossed over, the person who has declined their cloak, does not get defensive when criticized.
Because scrambling to justify yourself reveals insecurity.
It shows you haven't actually committed. If you get defensive, you are telling the world, hey, I still need your validation to feel safe on this side of the threshold.
Right. You're still looking back.
Exactly. When you are truly committed, when you have burned the boats, what others say about you is just noise. You aren't desperately trying to convince people you're on the path.
You're just walking the path.
You're just walking it.
That makes total sense. But there is a massive trap there, isn't there?
How so?
Because people hear build a reputation and they immediately think of PR.
Oh, absolutely.
They think of hiring publicists or curating the perfect Instagram feed or managing their personal brand to manufacture this aura of invincibility.
And that brings us to the most crucial caveat in this entire philosophy. Greene's strategy of leveraging reputation only works long-term if it rests on a solid foundation.
It can't just be a facade.
No, reputation alone is just a projection. It requires the bedrock of character. Character, unlike reputation, isn't something you can spin.
You have to earn it.
You have to build it through daily, often invisible choices. There is this beautiful insight woven into the material from the 19th century Chinese statesman Li Hongzhang.
Oh, yeah, the quote about gold.
Yes, he said, decency is like gold, the same in all countries.
I love that comparison to gold because gold doesn't tarnish.
No, it doesn't.
And it doesn't need a marketing team to explain its value. It possesses intrinsic worth, whether it's sitting in a vault in London or, buried in the dirt in Nevada. It doesn't fluctuate based on who is watching.
It doesn't need an audience at all. The person who is decent in private, decent under extreme pressure, that person is silently forging the inner architecture that their public reputation eventually reflects.
It reminds me of that classic Mark Twain idea that's referenced alongside this.
Oh, the satisfaction quote.
Yeah. Twain, with his typical sharp wit, says, always do right. This will satisfy some and astonish the rest.
It's so true.
We obsess so much over personal branding, trying to manage how we are perceived by everyone. But Twain is basically showing us that reputation is just a shadow, and character is the actual solid object casting it.
Yes. And if you spend all your energy trying to stretch and bend the shadow to look bigger, eventually the light shifts and everyone sees how small the object really is.
Exactly. You
Right.
manage the object, not the shadow.
Right.
You have to silently compound the gold of decency that Li Hongzhang talked about. The astonishment of others, your bulletproof reputation, is just the dividend of your actual commitment to your character.
Beautifully put.
But building that inner architecture requires us to turn inward. It requires crossing what is described here as the inner threshold.
To understand the inner threshold, we look at a brief parable from Anthony de Mello about discipleship.
This one is fascinating.
It really is. A visitor comes to a master and asks to become his disciple. The master says, "You may live with me, but don't become my follower."
Which is confusing for the visitor.
Naturally, the visitor asks, "Well, who should I follow?" And the master answers, "No one. The day you follow someone, you cease to follow truth."
Which is such a counterintuitive thing for a teacher to say. Like, why do we avoid that kind of true self-authority? We are constantly looking for masters or gurus or, I don't know, step-by-step 10-week systems to follow.
De Mello is pushing us to realize that a person of genuine character doesn't derive their direction from borrowed frameworks.
Right.
Jim Kwik actually has this brilliant way of looking at this. He notes that the treasure we seek is in the work we are avoiding.
Oh, wow.
We defer to other people's systems because genuine self-examination is deeply uncomfortable. It has no map.
Hacking your own path through the jungle is exhausting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we'd rather walk on a smoothly paved road someone else built, even if we suspect it's going the wrong way. It offers the illusion of a guarantee.
But crossing that inner threshold demands that you drop the illusion.
Completely.
And there is a very sharp, practical piece of advice provided for navigating this. Tackle the hard thing first.
Yes, the eat the frog mentality.
Right. On the surface, that just sounds like a generic morning productivity hack. But in the context of building character, it's elevated to a philosophy. When you face the hardest conversation or the most demanding creative work first thing in the morning, you are refusing to defer the truth.
You are crossing the threshold before the ordinary world has a chance to talk you out of it.
I was thinking about this dynamic, and it feels like we are constantly negotiating with the toddler in our own brains.
Toddler, I like that.
Yeah, the toddler says, "Can I just check my email first? Can I just read the news for 10 minutes? Can we just complain about our boss for a bit?" And we negotiate away our commitment.
We give in to the tantrums.
We do. But Ryan Holiday's daily data entry, which is heavily featured here, offers a fascinating solution to this negotiation.
Yeah.
He frames the threshold in completely domestic terms.
Right. He says you have to act as a bouncer at your own front door.
That swift transformation from a frustrated professional into a fully present parent or partner.
Yeah.
But if your brain is a toddler trying to drag the stress of your workday into your living room, Holiday's bouncer isn't there to negotiate with the toddler.
No, the bouncer just locks the door.
Right. It's a mechanism of hard boundaries. You literally visualize taking off the cloak of the stressed employee or the angry commuter, and you leave it on the porch.
You tell those grievances, "Sorry you're not on the guest list tonight."
I love that.
It's a brilliantly practical mechanism. It shows us that declining the cloak isn't just a once-in-a-lifetime Spartan march toward a battlefield. It is a daily practice.
It's an everyday thing.
Yes, it is a ritual crossing you perform every single morning when you sit down to tackle the hard thing, and every single evening when you walk through your front door.
You are constantly declining the cloak of the ordinary world's grievances to enter the extraordinary world of what actually matters to you.
That's it perfectly.
And to have the stamina to be that bouncer, to cross that threshold day after day without burning out, we have to rely on a quiet foundation.
The daily habits.
Yeah. The notes list out these shockingly mundane things that it claims can be world-class on a daily basis.
Which is funny, right? We think world-class means having a billion-dollar company or Olympic talent.
Exactly. But the things within our total sovereignty are things like the quality and quantity of our sleep, the quality of our warm-ups, our training, our cool-downs, our attitude, and our effort.
Those are the unremarkable repetitions. They seem small, but they compound into an unshakable foundation. But there's one specific discipline woven through this entire collection that deserves a massive amount of our attention.
Which is?
The discipline of reading.
Oh, yes.
The claim made here is incredibly bold. It states, "It doesn't matter that you can read, it matters that you do read."
Ouch. That one stings a bit, honestly.
Does it?
Yeah. I mean, I have a stack of books on my nightstand right now just glaring at me.
Well, it stings because it frames the mere capacity to read as just a latency. It is an inert potential until you actively turn it on.
Right.
And to illustrate why this is so tragic to ignore, there is this luminous, almost haunting metaphor from Leo Tolstoy.
The room metaphor.
Yes. Tolstoy describes the human condition as being like a child who enters a room mid-speech.
The speech of reality, of accumulated human wisdom.
Exactly. The child, which represents you and me, we didn't hear the beginning of the speech. We arrive late to the room,
Right.
and we're going to leave the room before the end of the speech. We only hear fragments, and honestly, we don't even understand the biggest part of what we hear.
Because it's too vast.
Right. But nevertheless, as we stand in that room, we vaguely understand that something great and important is being said. That speech has been going on for centuries before us, and it will continue long after we leave.
I wanted to sit with that image for a second. Being late to the room.
It's powerful.
It is. Because when you first think about it, it feels overwhelming. You realize you are never going to catch up on everything humanity has figured out.
It can feel futile.
But then it transforms into this profound relief. Because we don't have to figure it all out from scratch.
Yes.
The speech is already happening. We arrive late, we leave early, but we don't have to spend our brief time in the room with our hands over our ears, trying to reinvent the wheel.
That is the relief of reading. And it pairs perfectly with a thought from Robert Half included here, noting that asking the right questions takes as much skill as giving the right answers.
So reading isn't about getting the answers.
No, reading in this context isn't about memorizing facts to get smarter or to show off at dinner parties. It is the daily discipline of intellectual humility.
Right.
It is asking yourself, am I keeping my ears open to the speech so I learn which questions I should even be asking?
Reading is how you honor the fact that you arrived late to the room. It costs almost no money, asks for no extraordinary genetic talent. It only requires the decision, made fresh every morning, to sit down, open something worthy, and actually listen to the speech.
Well said. Which brings us to the ultimate synthesis of all these ideas.
Let's bring it all together.
When you combine this quiet, humble, daily discipline, sleeping right, having a good attitude, listening to the speech, with the total irreversible commitment of crossing the threshold, what happens to your mind?
What does that do to your internal state?
Exactly. The materials introduce the concept of amor fati from Friedrich Nietzsche.
Loving your fate.
Loving your fate, embracing exactly what is in front of you.
And it connects that to the philosopher Immanuel Kant, who argued that moral conviction actually precedes logical proof.
A huge concept.
Which, honestly, is a massive philosophical concept to drop. I mean, we usually think we need ironclad proof before we believe in something, right?
Of course.
I need to look over the ledge, see the safety net, inspect the net, calculate the wind speed, and then I will jump.
Right. Logic first, then action.
But think about what Kant is saying here. He's flipping that entirely. He's saying your internal purpose, your moral conviction that you must jump, has to come first.
Yeah.
You cross the threshold, you jump. And the logic of it, the understanding of the net, only truly makes sense after you are already in the air.
The conviction creates the reality.
Exactly. The internal conviction has to precede the external proof. As it's summarized beautifully here, we are not given a good life or a bad life. We are given a life. It is up to us to make it good or bad.
And if we understand that the conviction must come first, it explains the morning affirmation that sits quietly at the very top of this curation.
What's the affirmation?
It's simply, my still mind reflects only peace and holiness.
See, at first glance, that sounds so incredibly soft.
It does.
It sounds like a yoga retreat, completely at odds with Spartan warriors marching to their deaths or the ruthlessness of Robert Greene's reputation laws.
But it is actually the ultimate culmination of all of them. Yeah. We have to clarify that stillness is not passivity. Think about all the agitation in your mind right now.
The constant worrying.
The voice is asking, am I ready? Should I go? What if I fail? What will they think of my reputation? All of that endless noise belongs to the pre-threshold mind.
That is the mind that is still negotiating with the toddler. It's still weighing the pros and cons of the safety net.
Precisely. But once you jump, once you cross over, once you decline the cloak and lock the door like the bouncer, that agitation is replaced by a breathtaking clarity.
Because the decision is made.
The Spartans standing on the plain at Thermopylae were not anxious. They weren't pacing around worrying about their careers. Their minds were profoundly still because they had nothing left to negotiate with.
They had already released the future.
They released it completely.
Wow. So the ultimate reward for stripping away the comforting cloak of the ordinary world isn't necessarily public glory or financial success.
No, not at all.
The real reward is the end of mental negotiation. The stillness. You just do the work.
You just do the work. The deliberation is finished. You choose the gold of decency. You love your fate, you listen to the speech, and you march forward.
Which brings this entire exploration right to your doorstep listening to this right now. What cloak are you clinging to?
It's the most important question.
Is it a backup plan that's actually just an excuse not to try your hardest? Are you hedging your bets on a new project, demanding to see the safety net before you make a choice?
Or maybe it's the cloak of a grievance.
Right, a grudge you're carrying through your front door every night, letting the toddler run your living room, whatever it is. The invitation here is to embrace the immense power of deciding that you have already crossed the threshold. You are no longer available for retreat.
And I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over, one that builds on everything we've uncovered today.
Okay, let's hear it.
We've emphasized the profound calmness and stillness that comes after you cross the threshold.
Right.
But what if the profound anxiety you might be feeling right now about a massive life decision isn't a red flag?
Yeah.
We are trained to view anxiety as a warning that we're on the wrong path.
Like an alarm going off.
Exactly. But what if that friction is simply the universal sensation of standing on a threshold you haven't yet permitted yourself to fully cross? What if your fear isn't a stop sign, but just the price of admission to the extraordinary world?
That completely flips the script on how we experience fear. It's not a stop sign, it's the threshold itself.
It is.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into Declining the Cloak. We hope it gives you the conviction to stop negotiating, leave the ordinary world behind, and take that first jump.
Burn the boats.
Remember, you don't need the evidence to adopt the posture. You just have to cross over. Keep listening to the speech, and we will see you next time.